How is it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today's video we look at one of the most overpowered tier 8 tank destroyers available on World of Tanks console, and of course that is the SU-130PM, or the Shashka, of course the Shashka being the skinned version of the same tank. But the SU-130PM, what is special about this tank? Well, it has insane alpha damage for a tier 8, it has brilliant camo, it has good view range, it has ridiculous penetration on both the standard and the premium rounds, it's also capable of doing 65 kilometers an hour, and of course has the ability to have some crazy games, which we had within these couple of replays that we're going to showcase today, and hopefully they'll be interesting for you. But the first thing is the equipment we're running: advanced loader to increase the damage per minute of this vehicle, we've got advanced optics to boost the view range, and advanced concealment to reduce the concealment or increase the concealment and reduce the possibility of us getting spotted, which is perfect since we can make this tank pretty good at being able to out detect a lot of the vehicles in the game, even light tanks, especially if they're lower tier than you. But we've also then running large repair kit, small med kit, and enhanced combat rations. A good proportionate of premium rounds for when you get in those tier 10 games, and yeah, just overall running crew perks to boost up the vehicle, both concealment, rapid loading, steady aim, etc. But to be able to get a good, decent, holistic tank, and of course using repair or track mechanic to boost it up, the track repair speed a little bit, but it's definitely not crucial, and it's probably more of just a case that was on my crew as opposed to me picking it specifically for the SU-130PM. But what can we do with this vehicle? Let's find out in some games, and hopefully you enjoyed the intro to it. Let me know what you would change about the setup if you have any options. So the first game that we do have is not on the best map for the SU-130PM. Of course, looking at Himmelsdorf, and Himmelsdorf is a map that, yeah, I mean, predominantly used for heavy tanks, predominantly used for tanks with turret armor, and usually not particularly great for tanks that have very little armor. But in a top tier game in this vehicle, when you have the alpha damage that this tank gets, 520, when compared to something like the equivalent of the German line, the Scorpion G, which is basically a German version of the SU-130PM that has a fully traversable turret, but not the alpha damage, 490, compared to the 520 of the SU-130PM. You are able to outtrade basically everything you come up against, bar some of the super high alpha tank destroyers, things like the ISU-152, but they have a ton of negatives, whereas this tank doesn't really have a ton of negatives, only the fact that it does indeed not get that much armor, and so even tier 6s can reliably pen you in this thing. But don't worry, you're dealing 520 damage to them, and they're probably only dealing 200 to you, and it's not like they're going to be able to consistently deal a ton of damage to you, especially if you pull back around a corner, which is one of the key things that you want to be doing with this tank. And considering the speed of the vehicle, 65 kilometers an hour top speed forward, yeah, you're not going to have a problem to duck in and out of cover when you need to in this tank. But either way, we've picked up 1000 damage straight off the bat, which is perfect, exactly what you want to be doing in the SU-130PM. And of course, we make our way up to the top of the hill so we can get some easy shots into the side of some of the vehicles that we're seeing. You're seeing me use this position. It's actually a super good position. If people aren't looking your way, obviously, I mean, it's a brilliant position regardless. But yeah, you are definitely not going to be taking any points of damage when you're seeing the Pantera looking in the complete wrong direction. Now, we somehow managed to bounce around there, more luck than judgment, and of course managed to hit a shot into the Carnarvon Action X, and you can use this position right here to be able to get a free shot on anyone that turns down that corridor. But for those of you who've been keeping an eye on the minimap, much like myself within this game, I realised that the enemy team have got pretty overwhelming odds over on this side, so it's time to help them out. And with both I want to say the Czech not tank destroyers, but auto-loading vehicles like the Tiger 1A18, which is the Czech Tier 7 Tiger with the autoloader, and also the Lioness, which also has an autoloader. Yeah, it can be pretty horrible to come up against them, but when you pull back around a corner, they only have small alpha damages, so they're not really able to do a ton of damage to you, and you're able to just rinse them of their hit points. Now, in the process, I find that there's a boogie over to the right, so why not get a free shot of damage on him and help out the team down there so we guarantee a victory, especially with 12 tanks on our team and 2 on the enemy team. It's a Roffle Stomp, and we've been at the head of it with being able to deal 4,900 damage so far, and just the Tiger A18 left, and he's unloading that 3-round autoloader into us. But don't worry, he doesn't manage to get very many more, and we shut him down for 5,218 damage in one of the quickest games on Himmelsdorf that I've played, especially in an SU 130 PM, without getting taken out. 1,885 base experience, 5,218 damage, 3 enemies taken out within the game, and of course managing to finish the game within about 3.5 minutes. Yeah, pretty ridiculous, and when you consider we've managed to make 331,000 silver, get a first class mastery badge, not quite a first class, but yeah, either way, or a mastery badge itself, and yeah, a really good result. But let's see what it can do on a different map in not such a long or short battle, and that shorter battle is on Sand River. Now, Sand River, a really good map for a tank destroyer, especially if you have the ability to relocate like this tank does. Then you can use all of your knowledge of the map itself, if you're experienced with playing this map, to be able to relocate to different positions, to be able to get extra damage throughout the battle. And when you've got the alpha, you don't need to do it a whole lot of times, but if you can get a few shots in each position, you can soon add up throughout the games. Now, this game, I'm going to spoil it for you right now, it doesn't end in the result that we wanted, but that's exactly why I wanted to show it, is that even in the worst case scenario where maybe your team don't particularly help you out that much to try and win, and maybe you make a few mistakes throughout the battle, you can still have a really good game and come away with a ton of silver as well, which is ultimately what you typically will play some of these premium tanks for, and therefore, yeah, one of the best things to do. But at this point, no one's gone through the centre of the map, which is never good. Not that many people have moved over to the south of the map, and of course over onto the sand dunes, which is not good, which means they're going to get caught out and quickly removed by any light tanks that may potentially spot them. So instead of, you know, letting the enemy team push straight through the middle, I relocate to this spot, which is good, but if you do get spotted, it can be very bad, so it's a very risky place to come. So it really relies on you having teammates in the close proximity to outspot any light tank, or to act as your kind of buffer to where that light tank may be. Now, we try and put a round into the MX 5100, which manages to land, and that's exactly what we want, since the 5100 can be a bit of a nuisance if it can manage to unload its clip without you really being able to do anything. So yeah, just really nice to see, and of course we're just focusing down this KV5, who is of course rushing at this point to try and get into that kind of barrier between us and him, and of course we managed to land another one on the 5100 who pokes out. Now, this is what I was talking about with the barrier. We see the EBR Hotchkiss does actually get spotted, and he'll come into play later on, but the EBR Hotchkiss of course being a bit of a nuisance and basically acting as the spotter for the enemy team. And this is what I mean, if you don't push up, you often can get found out in positions like you're seeing by basically everyone on the southern side of the map, and they're getting rinsed for all of their health. And now we finally get spotted here after doing 2,000 damage, and yeah, not looking all too good for us, but I'm trying to work the magic on this central line, try and finish off as many of them as possible, and we do manage to plough another one into the IS-2, but it's looking like it's probably not likely to get another free shot into anyone during that central area. So yeah, we've got to be a little bit lucky now to get any more shots into them. So I start trying to focus the EBR, not looking all too good either, and the enemy team are getting even closer, and with only one tank destroyer on our team over to the left of me, he's not really going to be able to stop all of the enemy tanks, and he's soon going to get removed as well. But with a medium tank now YOLOing the A44. We've got to deal with him because he was just going to keep pumping us in the side, and so a quick swift exit of that vehicle would be nice to see. And of course I'm a little bit kind of, I guess, brash about being able to just go in. Now the tank doesn't have that high of an alpha damage, and so I should really be thinking about long term that I just need to go after this guy so I can then deal with whatever else I need to, and I'm being a little bit too much of a scaredy cat, I guess, for lack of a better word, or at least a better YouTube word, I should say. But at this time, I then realised, you know what, I've just got to go, and hopefully I was going for the ram on this guy, but the SU-130PM does not weigh any amount of tonnage, so you're not going to be able to really do a whole lot. But the A44 does the exact right thing, and he's actually, he doesn't get lucky, but it's annoying that he actually pulled down behind that ridge to the point where we're not able to get a shell of damage into him. And the EBR does exactly what he should do after seeing us fire, is try and get a second shot into us without us being reloaded. Now he's trying to get a better position to shoot us for free without potentially getting hit, but we're not going to make it easy for him. But of course, with a game where in the first game we had a brilliant one, we don't get a brilliant one in the next one, since, yeah, I mean 13-0'd after having a 12-2 or 12-0. Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing, but we still pick up 250,000 silver and a very good result for a loss in that quick of a fashion. And hopefully that gives you an indication of the best and worst results you can possibly get with this vehicle, whereby, you know, you're coming in these really quick games where either your team are the ones that win or your team are the ones that lose, and hopefully that gives an indication as to how this tank performs. And yeah, a really quite condensed review, but nonetheless probably exactly what you need for when you're looking to maybe purchase this vehicle. Or alternatively, if you're coming up against it, HE is your friend, and you're going to be able to boost up the damage against this vehicle quite easily, since the armour really does suck, and it is basically a Scorpion G with a limited turret that has higher alpha damage. So yeah, using HE against this one is very, very useful indeed, and you're going to be able to remove these things a lot quicker, and when they only have 1,100 hit points, it's a lot easier than it may seem. But other than that, hopefully you did enjoy this little review of the SU-130PM, and you watch out for these things because they are utterly ridiculous within the game, and you certainly don't want to let them hit you for free. But other than that, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, and I hope you join me back. And if you haven't already, please do think about subscribing, because we are getting ever so close now to 15,000, and your support would be massively appreciated, even if it is just continuing to watch some of the other videos if you're interested in that. But other than that, once again, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.